Welcome back to another episode of Business, Banking and Beyond. Today we are thrilled to have a special guest who has made waves in radio, television and the international stage. Joining us will be Sophiya Anjam, an award-winning professional host with over 17 years of experience in media, public speaking and entrepreneurship. In today's episode, we'll deep dive into her inspiring journey as an expat, as a woman entrepreneur, a voice of women from Pakistan. We will discuss her move to the UAE, the challenges she faced as a woman in business, and her tips for success, especially for a Pakistani woman looking to break into the UAE market. Sophiya will also share her insights on women's voices in media and the importance of breaking stereotypes in both business and entertainment world. So get ready for an empowering conversation with incredible Sophiya Anjam. So let's get started with RJ Sophiya. Sophiya, thank you so much first of all for coming here and giving us this pleasure to get a lot of things from you.
My pleasure. I think it's absolutely my pleasure, to be very honest. But I must mention one thing. I love the aesthetics of this office. So I would like to start with that great job with the aesthetics.
Thank you so much. We're just trying to create the positive energy,
yes,
which you will create more today.
Correct.
And enlighten us with all the information, knowledge, which you have delivered, carried from so long period.
Looking forward to it.
So first of all, Sophiya, I would really like to know about your journey which starts like all of us, like me and every expat in UAE, from our hometown, from our home country.
Yes.
So can you share some details about it?
Yes. Oh man, I'm taking a trip down the memory lane right now. So I'll go back to my school. Okay. When I was in school, I knew that the mic was my best friend. And I was always at the forefront on the stage. Okay, Sophie, you're in charge of the drama society. You're in charge of the sports activities. You're in charge of the mic. This mic was my best friend. And I knew that this was my calling. So since school, hota na ek drama queen hoti hai aapke paas. Theek hai, that one person who always has the mic. So I was that go-to person. If you want any kind of an announcement, Sophia is there. So I knew as a kid, this is something I want to do. So I pursued my master's in mass communication and I got my media training from Washington, D.C. and Chicago, even in the UAE. So I was like, I think this is what I want to do now. So I kind of cushioned my education forward through the media. And then my first job was at a radio station. And that was by accident because my friend used to work at a station and she was like, Sophiya, tumhare to itni achhi PR hai, almost everybody hai, social butterfly tum ho. Maine kaha, ye acha hai, kisi ko mil lo, social butterfly ban jata hai insaan. But I was like, okay, sure, I don't mind coming over. So I came over to the station and she was like, listen, why don't you give an audition? Because, you have good communication skills and that's it. वो कहते हैं ना चट मंगनी पटवया. This is exactly what happened. I think it was a bond meant to be. So that's how I entered the industry. My journey has been absolutely beautiful. Yes, it had its set of challenges and everything else, but it started out with a clear vision that communication, public speaking, and the media is my forte. That's what happened.
Well, this is what the topic is today. And I'm really looking forward for it. Voice of women.
Yes.
You're really voice for your country, for the women in your country. I know Malala Yousaf, who's a Nobel laureate, and she is the voice for the globe now, not just for your country. So I want to stick to this topic.
Sure.
How you have been able to inspire so many women. I would stick to women, not to men. Because today is about women. We are always discussing in these shows about women entrepreneurship. So when it comes to voice of women, you were clear from day one that you want to go into media. Mike was your best friend.
Yes.
How did you inspire more women in your home country? And how did your journey come through this?
Wow, it's a very broad question, but I think I'll pin it down and streamline it one by one. So I'll tell you something. The journey started from my home, okay? As they say, charity begins at home. So I had always seen working women in my household. My dadi was a professor of economics. My mother was a professor as well. She did a master's in sociology. So everybody around me was padhe likhe and acha humne education mein top karna hai. And I was like, okay, too much pressure, but I think I'll go somewhere. So you see, there were doctors, engineers and professors in the family. So that was my first learning as a kid, as a young girl, that, okay, I need to be somewhere in the education side in a very good spot. That's how I started. As far as Malala Yousafzai is concerned, yes, she has made the entire world proud because she's a staunch supporter of the education for young women around the world. From my country, you've had so many different, which is Pakistan, you've had so many different women like Benazir Bhutto as well. In politics, she was actually the first female prime minister in the world.
Well, I didn't knew that.
In the world. She was the first prime minister in the world. And it was the first time that a female prime minister of any country, that too from a very conservative Islamic country, comes around. And then Malala Yousafzai won a Nobel Peace Prize. And then you had Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. Now, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, she's won a lot of different awards, international awards. She's made us proud through different kind of documentaries and films and all of that. In politics, I mentioned Benazir Bhutto. And then it doesn't stop here. In the entertainment side, you could see Hania Amer, you could see Mahira Khan, who are global superstars as well. But these are people that you know. The people that you don't know work silently in the rural areas of Pakistan. Same goes for India. And these people are the unsung heroes of Pakistan and India, because you would be surprised, I'm sure you already know, but maybe some people would be surprised to know that the workforce in Pakistan and India is very strong when it comes to women, because women in rural areas actually end up doing most of the work without getting any recognition, without getting that kind of economic freedom and the independence to make decisions in the family. Although you must be thinking that, okay, so if someone wears the pants in the house, someone gives money and brings it on the table, that person has a certain kind of power. Unfortunately, in the rural areas of Pakistan and India, women don't. And that comes down to our culture, both in India and Pakistan. That is something that I feel a lot of empowered women, they work on. When you talk about women in media, I think women in media give a voice to others. It reminds me of a quotation. When a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. That is the importance of speaking up. And I remember, I think it was Meghan Markle, she mentioned something, she was at she was at an event, somebody asked something related to women, and she said, why do you think that women need a voice? They already have it. They just need to realize that they already did have it. So as far as I think inspiring others are concerned, I think it comes down to one thing, which is consistency. Because you have to be consistent in your work. It could be in medicine, could be in education, could be in the media side, as long as you're constantly doing something and telling others through your work.
Thank you so much for clearing it out in smallest of smallest part. I would come down to the same question. We would like to deep dive into it, that when we speak about women in media, how exactly the landscape of Pakistan is when it comes to voice of women in media. Again, it can be in different industries. I would like to stick to the media.
Sure.
So how is it the ecosystem? How is it supportive? And what things are there in the ecosystem for women?
Okay, so let's start with the pros first. Okay, so if you talk about the good things in the media side in Pakistan, is that we have the freedom to express our opinions, right? That is a majorly good thing here in Pakistan, to a certain extent, of course, because there's one entity in Pakistan. If you talk against that entity, we all know, unfortunately, that's not going to go down very well. But apart from that, generally speaking, I think women in the media can freely express themselves. That's the good part. The other part is that, generally speaking, in the Pakistani media, when a woman holds a kind of power, that woman gets to do the job very carefully, formulate a team, and actually build an example for others to follow. And you would remember that woman for centuries to come, for decades to come, for years to come, because that woman has set an example, because it's not very common, right? But now let's come to the cons. The legal framework, the most important. Unfortunately, even if you have laws that protect you, the implementation of laws, that is the issue. That is the biggest issue that unfortunately we face in Pakistan today. A, sometimes you don't even have laws. And B, even if you do have laws on certain subjects and courses and certain themes, the execution is actually not there. So that is something we need to work on. On the flip side, here in the UAE, the legal framework is fantastic.
Well, I was about to come to that point only when we speak about Voice of Women from Pakistan and media. We discuss the pros and cons.
Yes.
So, Sophie, what inspired you to move to UAE? You were already doing so well in Pakistan, a well-known RJ, Voice of Women, and you were already in the midst of your career, growing. So, what made you move to UAE?
You know, there are many factors that actually led me to move to the UAE, because this is one question that I often get to be asked a lot. Because and some of my friends were like, "Are you mad? Like, look at your career. You're well settled. Why would you want to move to the UAE? You could just visit." I will start with the first factor, which is complacency. And for me, complacency is something that I'm not comfortable with. I think that if you reach a certain level in your career, you have to be challenged. Because if you're not challenged enough, you would lose that spirit. So I felt that in my respective field, I had already experimented with everything. I had reached the top and I had explored a lot of options. What's next? That's the first thing. The second one I felt was that I needed a bit of a global representation and international platform, because there is, not much you could do sitting in Pakistan. Nationally, I could do a lot. Internationally, I needed to get exposed to a lot of different things and experiences. That's the second part. The third one, unfortunately, the political instability in the country made it easier for me to kind of shift gears, because I thought it was the right time to move. And I already had family and friends here. So I was like, okay, so I have 17 years of prior experience in the media. I know that I would start from scratch here, but at the same time, I would get an international exposure. That's why I shifted.
Do you think really, I mean, I know it from the heart, but still, is it really an international exposure when it comes to UAE? Because often coming from India or Pakistan, we feel like going to US and UK is the only international exposure. How do you say that UAE is the international exposure?
Because it's a very cosmopolitan city, Dubai, right? It is the hub of culture and diversity. A lot of people live here. You and I are sitting together, and it's very okay to talk about Eid and Diwali at the same time, to talk about our cultural and religious events and activities. And we are there for each other. International, why? Because you have people coming in from all over the world to Dubai. You've got COP27. You've got GITEX. You've got international film festivals happening. You've got a lot of sporty events happening. In the media side, so much is happening. And I think that it's very closer to home, because it's literally just 2-3 hours away from our respective cities, A. And B, it's very desi for us, because I think it's more relatable, because you have Indians and Pakistanis everywhere. And I feel that at the same time, it's best of both the worlds. You have people from all over the world coming into Dubai to invest and to give us that opportunity. So I think it's a stepping stone towards perhaps a more global goal in the future.
But Sophie, you had a choice to go to US as well.
Yes, correct.
Why did you still choose UAE?
To be very honest, I feel that UAE was always my second home, because I was visiting since I was 9 years old. My father had his business over here, and my brother is settled in Abu Dhabi. So, and my best friends are here. So it made sense for me to come to Dubai, because I felt that it's something that I wanted to do. It was like a second home for me. The US, on the other hand, although I absolutely love the opportunities that the country provides, but I do feel it's very far, because I have a mom who lives in Lahore, and I think belonging to South Asia, I think you and I can relate that our parents are extremely important to us. So we have to be near our parents, right? So as a doting daughter, I had to be near her. And I think second of all, the fact is that people in the US, they work too hard. It's like a machine, like a robot, that you wake up early in the morning, go to bed, and then it's just tuck, 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 tuck. I do feel that we have it slightly easier in Dubai, because people don't like working too much. Did I just say that? Yes, I did. It's the truth.
Well, about the opportunities which you mentioned and the career aspect, that you have to start from scratch, but still you didn't give up. You really chose UAE, that you will start from scratch, but still you will come to UAE.
Yes.
So did that really paid off to you? And what are the better opportunities which you have seen in UAE versus Pakistan?
That's a very good question. I would start with the better opportunities part first. The better opportunities, as a woman, I feel extremely safe and secure in the UAE. I could wear whatever I want to. I could go out at night, do whatever I want to, from cycling to walking on the street to eating late at night with my friends. At the same time, I know that if somebody wrongs me, I could hold that person accountable for their actions. That is one thing that I don't feel very secure about living in Pakistan as a woman. So that's the first thing. As a woman, it's very, very safe for me. Second of all, again, the fact is that I think that when India and Pakistan, they join hands together, magic happens. And trust me, living in Pakistan, I used to love playing Indian songs on the radio up till 2018. उसके बाद जब वो बैन लगा इंडिया से भी पाकिस्तान से भी, तो unfortunately I couldn't play some of my favorite tracks. It might seem like a small thing, but for me it was a huge deal being a music lover. Now here in Dubai, when I'm starting my own show, I can call all the Indian celebrities, Pakistani celebrities, global superstars, because I think that these borders are man-made. And what Dubai does, Dubai blurs those borders. That is what I love about it. So that's the thing. But apart from that, I think that, again, I would say that Dubai is best of both the worlds.
Well, if I were to come back to the same point of voice of women, what do you think is a complete difference? I would say a complete difference when we compare it again to the home country.
Yeah.
What is the opportunity in terms of women using their voice? Because all those things which you mentioned can be same for men as well. The country is safest for both of us.
Yeah.
But what is that special thing which is being offered to women as voice of women?
Correct. But I do feel, I would just like to add something here, that men generally are more safe around the world statistically as compared to women. So let me give you an example. You have a woman in power in India or Pakistan, people would either not give them that respect or that honor because, oh, why should we listen to a woman? Because it's culturally ingrained in their minds to not listen to a woman in a position of power, because it happened to me. I was leading a radio station. I was a woman in power, and I had men come up to me and say that, why should we listen to you? Like, who are you? And I said, I have a designation granted to me by the management. I head a station. They make the policies. I make sure that the policies are followed. This is a very important point. A woman in power in Pakistan will have to challenge herself and be very, very strong, because this will happen. Men will try and get insecure because that's the natural thing, right? Second of all, they tend to objectify women too. So, for example, if I am at a certain position in my field, people will be like, "Oh, okay, so she's getting all the good things and the promotions, or probably because she's very friendly with certain clients, or probably because she's done something, under the table to kind of achieve that kind of position in that society." So that is something which exists. That's the second thing, right? So these are very important points for a woman. The third one, I feel, is unequal representation of women. You don't see a lot of women in all kinds of fields in Pakistan. Yes, there are women in almost every field now, but statistically speaking, in very less numbers, right? So I think all of these factors lead up to a certain point in which when a woman actually comes into power, she feels that, okay, she needs to hold on to it. That is why it's sometimes difficult for a woman in a very good position to manage. But the management comes with experience.
Well, I have these points discussed on a different note, on a controversial level or contrary level, I would say, with many women who have come to our podcast on the similar lines, but on the contrary lines as well. So I think it really makes sense. And for a woman, it is very important that the designation which she has taken upon is really on the skill.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think that, the authority, you don't tend to challenge the authority of a man in a position of power. Okay, a multinational company is being led by a male CEO is fine. A multinational company being led by a female CEO to a certain point is fine if you're just sitting here. But when you get to work with them, you realize the challenges they face every day. So they have families to run also. So a woman is supposed to be perfect, right? In our part of the world, she's supposed to run a family too. She's supposed to run the household too. She's supposed to be this perfect epitome of a good wife and a good daughter and a good sister and a good mother. So it's not just at the workplace where she's supposed to excel. It is also her home. So imagine that. Because for a man, it's very easy to focus. Okay, I am the bed earner. Okay, I have to go home. I have to build a family. I have to build a house. I have to take care of the children. He's very usually focused and goal oriented, but a woman has so many things going on and her emotional part is very different. because they're wired differently. So I think that, so for example, if I wish I had something over here to show you, but if a man and a woman are in a race together, and this is the finish line, there would be many obstacles in front of a woman before she finishes that line that she has to overcome, which is why appreciation here comes in. Men such as yourself encourage women such as myself and others around you to make that happen. So I would say that Women's Day should not only be celebrated by women, but men should be side by side with them because they help us achieve our goals.
I'll just mention a very small point here, or I always like to quote some successful people out here. So I was watching one interview of Indra Nooyi, the CEO of PepsiCo. We all inspire from us, from India. So she was mentioning somewhere that a biological clock of a woman, a female, is against her. The more she progresses in her career, the more biologically she's getting behind. So I think that is one of the obstacles which you manage. So if a man is running at a very high speed, a woman cannot, because of health, because of surroundings, ecosystem, society. So even if she is getting 20% of what 100% a man is achieving, it is more than what 100%.
Agreed. So I'll give you an example. So there's a couple and the woman gets pregnant and both of them are at a very good position in a multinational company, or they're owners of a very nice business. So the woman, she will get some leave because when she'll be pregnant, she'll have to have some time off. After giving birth, she will still need some time to cope up with it. On the other hand, a man is not liable to do that. Right? It's not that he should not, that's another debate altogether. But I'm just putting things into perspective that women have it slightly tough at the workplace because of certain obstacles. Yes.
So Sophie, what exactly voice of woman mean to you?
I think it means representation. It means visibility. It means empowerment. It means the future. And I'm sure you know this very famous line that the future is female, right? And that is very much true because it's kind of getting there. And I think that the only way that we can kind of get there is when we have a voice. And a voice can be in different formats. It can be in different figures. It can be in different ways. It can be in various connotations, but it has to be there. So I'll give you an example. You're watching a TV show, and there's a very famous international sitcom going on, and you see somebody who looks exactly like you, who is in one of the major characters on that TV show. What is that? That is representation. You are reading a book, and in that book, there's a character that you're like, this sounds exactly like somebody I know. What is that? That is representation. So media representation is extremely important because it comes down to acceptance in the society. But nowadays, when you have OTT platforms, back in the day, so I'll give you a very regular example, okay? Friends, I think I grew up watching Friends. I don't know about you. I used to absolutely love Friends as a sitcom.
We all have.
We all have, and we love watching reruns of Friends as well. But Friends was made for a certain time and a certain generation, right? And if you look at that sitcom, if Friends was made in today's day and age, in 2024, you would have a lot of representation from South Asia, from Asia generally, and all kinds of people with different thought processes and minds. Now, you might like it, you might not like it, but by the end of the day, it comes down to diversity. So I think it's very important that women in media are getting that kind of recognition. You mentioned Malala Yousafzai. She's just one of those names. You have so many women from India and Pakistan and South Asia and around the world in with respect to women in media who actually are doing a lot. And I think that the representation and visibility is very important.
So Sophie, when we say voice of women, somewhere it connects to the leadership.
Right.
That woman is representing.
Correct.
And she's somewhere the leader because she's representing a lot of people. So there I would like to connect a voice of woman to women in entrepreneurship. So what would be your advice? What women entrepreneurs you have seen around who are really driving the change?
That's a very good question. I think that there are many factors involved that I really want to talk about, but then it would have another podcast altogether because it has so many different deep-rooted tiers also. But I think that one thing that I would say for now is that we need to get out of our comfort zones. It's always that first decision that we take is the most important. So taking that decision means that we are getting out of our comfort zones, which means we are doing calculated risks. So I would say let's start with that if we want to take a risk, we should, but it should be calculated and it should be out of our comfort zones, number one. Number two, to always be authentic to your own true self, no matter what the world says, no matter what you see left, right, and center, no matter what happens. But that one thing that you should always remember is to stay true to the core values that you've always had. And the last thing, which is the most important, is consistency. Consistency is extremely important because, the thing is, it's very easy to get to the top. You can be an overnight star, you can form a business, you can create a certain kind of platform in which, you're being ranked as number one. But what do you do after that? How do you maintain it? That's very important. So consistency is key. And I think that I've seen a lot of female entrepreneurs around me who actually have made calculated risks, who have actually been very consistent, and who have remained authentic. So these three factors are taking up from those inspirational figures around me in Pakistan, in India, in my own household also, and around me that I get to see. So I think that as strong women in Pakistan, India, or in the UAE, it's just taking that first decision and the fear of what will it be in the future? Would I be safe? But if you truly believe that you can do it, if you can think it, you can do it.
What do you think if you had to compare, again, we have already discussed in terms of the media.
Yeah.
If we were to compare women in entrepreneurship in home country versus in UAE, what are the opportunities? What are the pros and cons?
To be very honest, obviously, the UAE has a global outreach, right? It has an international platform. You have all kinds of people from all different kinds of cultures who are part of it. So that is one thing which is the biggest pro, I would say, right? Secondly, as I mentioned before also, economic opportunities, which is very important and very vital. So for example, I join a business with somebody. The kind of money I would get in the UAE, which I would earn either in dirhams or in dollars, would be insane as compared to Pakistani rupees. So the value of the dollar is obviously pegged with the value of dirhams, right? So it's basically that. I think it's that. And I think lastly, again, I would say that it is very conducive, the environment in the UAE, because they're always encouraging you to get together, to work together. However, at the same time, I feel that Pakistani women are extremely gifted because they might not have a platform, but they certainly have the brains, right? And they certainly have the tenacious outlook to go and get what they want. They're just looking for the right platform. And I think the UAE is kind of like that baked right platform for them.
So if you were to give 3 steps to a woman entrepreneur, which you know,
yes,
what would be those 3 steps for her to move to UAE and start her own business?
I think it is kind of related to my previous answer also, that again, it's taking the first decision. So getting out of your comfort zones, of course. Again, I would like to stress on the fact that you have to listen to your own self and be authentic. Don't listen to janta kya chahti hai, kya bikega, log kya kahenge, statistics kya hai. Just be authentic to the core while doing your market research. And third is consistency. However, these are holistically speaking words. Now let's come to a bit more of a practical approach as well. If you are a woman who is shifting from Pakistan to Dubai or from India to Dubai, you have to make sure that you do your research beforehand. And I'll be very honest over here because it's been 1 year for me over here and I've had my share of scammers in this country. Okay. Now, the good thing about this country is that it takes you to task, okay, from a legal framework. But at the same time, there are scammers running around. So जो आपको कहेगा सर जी आप टेंशन क्यों लेते हैं, मैं कर लूँगा ना सब कुछ, मैं हूँ ना, मैं कर लूँगी आपके लिए. Don't listen to them until and unless you check out all the points over here. Give yourself time. And I will say something that I learned. One of my friends told me something when I shifted to Dubai. The first thing he said was, Sophia, you know, Dubai is a city जो शुरू में आपको धक्का मारेगा और उसके बाद आपको बाहों में ले लेगा. ठीक है? So I thought that was very interesting because he was right. Because in the beginning, that 1 year, imagine you're getting married to somebody, the challenges happen during the first year of marriage, right? You don't know how the other person's personality is, the highs and lows. So imagine you are actually getting into a new phase in your life. You have to give yourself 1 year. So my message would be to give yourself 1 year to just settle down, Do not make any hasty decisions. Do not believe everything that people tell you. You create your own reality.
Well, that is so clear and transparent. I can understand that from where you're coming, and I hope all the women in the Pakistan are able to grasp that, and they will take that first risk and for a greater future for themselves and for the generations to come.
Absolutely.
And again, become a voice of women.
Yes, but I'll tell you something is very funny. They say that if you want something to be said, ask a man. If you want something to be done, ask a woman.
That's so true. And I am always in favor of women.
Yes.
I don't know. It's core to me.
Clearly, I love the jacket also that you're wearing. Go women, for sure. Loving that color.
Because I feel as a business person as well that there is no use of idea if it cannot be executed well.
Yes.
And it cannot be, if it cannot be executed well means some people are only having thought processes and men's are best at it.
Yeah.
Just having thoughts around but not executing. When I see women, they're not thinking, they will execute.
Yes, they will.
Men is still thinking, sitting on his couch, bed, that I would do this tomorrow in next 5 minutes. And woman is, she will get up, do it. It's just that somewhere all the podcasts which I've done, women who came to this podcast will always say that the woman has to be little bit fearless.
Yes.
And less judgmental.
Yes.
Women have to not feel that somebody is judging.
No.
This is very important. And then becoming fearless.
Do you remember I just mentioned something about being objectified? So that is exactly where the judgment comes in from, because that is there. The fear of being judged, the fear of wearing a short dress, the fear of wearing a red lipstick, the fear of having perhaps many male friends, the fear of being outspoken, laughing loudly, or doing something that men can easily do and get away with it, but a woman can't because she has to be perfect. She has to be poised. She has to sit in a certain way. She has to talk in a certain manner. She has to have a certain kind of demeanor to her. So these are all the things that women in our society in 2024 are also fighting. But I would like to give credit to all the Pakistani women and Indian women at the same time, that I think that they're kick-ass. They're breaking the stereotypes. They're breaking the glass ceilings, because I feel that the kind of power, tenaciousness, and talent that Pakistani and Indian women have, honestly speaking, I have not seen. They're truly go-getters.
The brains.
Truly go-getters.
So when we have reached till now, I would like to know, you're meeting so many business owners, interviewing. One of them I was also there as a panelist with you.
Yes.
I want to know, if a woman from Pakistan wants to start any business, you must have seen a lot of them. What could be those businesses which you have seen which can be really easily started,
right,
so that the capital is less and they can really flourish in this country? I'm asking this especially for Pakistani women, because you understand what works in Pakistan and what they can build in UAE.
Yes, correct. I think that's a very interesting question, because a lot of people now want to get out of Pakistan also in order to get a good future for themselves. I know a lot of my female friends from Pakistan who recently got in touch with me because they wanted to set up their businesses here. You would be surprised to know a lot of them are fashion designers. So let me think, okay, most of them are fashion designers. Then they have a lot of experience in the beauty industry, so they're opening up salons here. Then a lot of people want to do event management here as well. A lot of people want to start up their business setup, which is related to giving consultancy to different firms for marketing strategies. Then I have some astrologers from Pakistan coming over that they want to start shop over here. So it's a very diverse range of my personal friends from Pakistan who want to kind of dive into entrepreneurship. I would say that it doesn't matter what you're selling, what you want to sell, what you want to do. You have to have that basic idea. You have to come here and you have to go and get it. ये गोल है, आपने ठान कर लेनी कि मैंने ये गोल अचीव करना है, एक साल में strategy बनाए and go for it.
And how are your friends doing? If I were to ask.
I'm meeting one of them for coffee right after this. So I think right now what they're doing, which is very smart, is that they're doing their recce. And I think it's very important, which is also a very good factor, that you can't just start up a business because everyone else is doing it. Okay, do a little bit of a market research. Where is the vacancy? Where is the missing point? What is missing? Or what is working here? What is not working here? Do you have the expertise? Because sometimes you think you do, but you don't actually have the expertise. So then you have a business partner with you. You have somebody that you kind of join hands with and say, okay, yaar, acha, theek hai, yaar, ye kam main kar sakta hu. ये काम मैं नहीं कर सकता, तो you and I can kind of form a good team.
But I think all these advices are good for men, not for women, because they take calculated risk.
Yes.
I think we need to learn that from women, that always they would do this by default. So even if I'm consulting sometimes to a female client of ours, because we are in business setup, so I always see they are taking a very well calculated risk.
They do.
Before investing 1 rupee or 1 dirham or $1, they would really make sure that it comes a value.
Correct.
On the contrary, we see men spending reckless.
But I'll tell you something interesting. So this has some kind of relevance to what I'm just about to say. My mom, it was just something very light. My mom was talking about marriage and stuff like that, because ये भी तो बात होती नहीं, अगर आप खवातीन business start करने हो, single होते तो सबसे पहले सवाल होता है, भाई single क्यों हो, शादी क्यों नहीं हो रही, you know what I mean? So my mom was like, why don't you find a rich guy for yourself and get married? And I looked at her and said, Mom, I'm the rich guy. Okay, and I'm already married to my work. So, such women tend to think like men and women. Because when you have to be out there in the world, you can't have just one thought process. You have to have a diverse point of view. So I think that's the beauty of women in 2024, that it's not gender specific. Their thinking is very broad. Like you said, this is what men do, this is what I do. That means that I also think exactly how men think, because I work in the same space. So that is one thing which I'm very proud of for women, that they not just have their feminine qualities, but they have a little bit of their masculine capabilities also, which is a very dangerous and dynamic combination. That's what works.
And that's really important as well, because we're expecting the next decade in which women should lead.
Yes.
Then they need to understand how men's mentality work and somewhere balance it out.
Balance it out, yes. And I think that I would like to kind of wrap this question up with the fact that every role has a certain kind of importance and should be balanced. But in the workplace, a good balance of both masculine and feminine capabilities is required in today's day and age. You cannot work otherwise.
So, Sophie, congratulations on your new show as well.
Thank you.
I am always following up.
Although
there has been few shows only which has been out.
Yes.
I saw the BTS even.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes. I even commented on your LinkedIn on the day of launch.
Yes, I remember. That was very kind of you. Yes.
So my question is, what are you trying to achieve from this show as Voice of Women?
Honestly speaking, I feel that my pace has always been extremely fast. I was a very fast-paced working woman in Pakistan, because I've had a lot of international exposure also when I was working in different countries. I feel that the media in the UAE is slightly slower as far as my pace is concerned. So I will try and shift that speed a little bit. So I'll try nice and slow. That's the first thing. The second thing, I feel that my kind of flavor was missing. There is not a lot of Pakistani representation in the mainstream media here in the UAE. Unfortunately, there can be many reasons for that. I don't want to get into that, but I feel that now that I am in the mainstream media, I would like to bring a certain kind of representation from my country to the mainstream media. And it's not just about Atif Assam and Rahat Fateh Ali Khan and Mahira Khan and Fawad Khan and Malala Yousafzai. There are so many other things to talk about, so many artists and so many other people to talk about. Love them, but there are other factors and other instances involved as well. Lastly, I think that whatever I have learned in my 70 years of experience, I would like to cushion that forward and give it a UAE flavor and bring that to my audience.
We are looking forward for that. As Desis, we all Desis.
Yes,
of
course. Aapki dedications and shout-outs bhi aayenge ab station.
Bilkul. We are already into that and we continuously watch that.
Correct.
And we hope it becomes a success.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's called Sounds Good with Sophie.
True. I think the name is Vibe.
Yeah, so it Sounds Good with Sophie on Vibe FM 105.4.
Nice to know. Now, I want to know a dark side as well of media being a voice of women.
Yes.
Was there any time in your career, or is it still happening, that you feel some days that there is no one to listen to you?
That's a very heavy question, but I'm glad that you asked this question. I'm sure that everyone can relate to this, that they've had a certain kind of dark period in their life or a phase that they cannot get out of. But let me tell you that I never felt that people were not listening to me. I felt I was not listening to myself, right? If that makes sense. I felt I was lost. I needed to find my own self. So there were a few things that helped me. Number one, meditation. Meditation could be in the form of praying. It could be in the form of doing yoga. Could be anything which gives you your peace of mind. It did give me my peace of mind because I was very consistent. It worked. Secondly, you know how we are surrounded by people around us who claim to be our friends, who claim to be our well-wishers, but by the end of it all, they're giving us a lot of negative energy. And they're giving us a kind of vibe that's not required. So I personally felt that when I stopped listening to them, when I stopped giving them any kind of importance in my life and I shunned them from my life, it helped me grow and evolve as a person. So I think that that dark phase basically was a dark phase in which I was not listening to myself. But when I found who I was, it gave me peace.
Well, this is a different perspective, which
Yes.
I have seen normally when we speak about loneliness, darkness, dark side of our...
It happened very recently, I'll tell you that. It happened when I shifted to Dubai. Because, you know, I had a very good career. I was just going places. Unfortunately, in between, my father died when I shifted. There was a big bump in my life. And then obviously I was a little, I was starting from scratch. So it's not easy for someone to kind of have everything at the top and suddenly start from scratch. So I was lost. There was never, you'd be surprised, there was never a point in my life that I felt people were not listening, because I always made sure that people listened to me. That was my fight in life, that they should always listen to me. They should hear me out. But what is listening? That's a very interesting question. Listening is comprehension. If I'm talking to you and you're not understanding my point of view, then you're not really listening, right? So, yeah.
You're just grasping, but not implementing, not executing. And that's where you don't connect with.
Correct. That's where communication comes in.
And your lost is not someone, you lost someone, but somewhere down the line, you felt that you lost yourself and then you reconnected with yourself.
Yes,
Well,
true.
Nicely put up.
Yes, thank you.
We'll lastly discuss about your studio, the S Studio, where you give platform to all the creators to discuss, to flourish. Can you discuss more on that and what made you start that and how it is flourishing?
Sure. So we all remember the COVID times, right? So right before COVID hit, I started this venture because I was at the peak of my career in Pakistan. And I was like, okay, I want to do something different because, I'm not a fan of complacency. So I was like, okay, how about I jump into entrepreneurship and start my own studio? So I got a space in a very interesting area in Lahore. And I opened up a space called the S Studio in which, I could help set up podcasts for people. So for example, if you were in Lahore, this would have been happening at the S Studio. Okay, you and I would have...
Surely one day.
Yes, inshallah, why not? Of course, we would love to show you around Lahore and be hospitable as well. So the idea was to have an all-inclusive workspace for content creators. So you know how you have all these radio spots on the radio, ads chal rahe hote hain, aur malls mein aapko wo awaaz aa rahi hoti hai. Attention shoppers, you can go to right side of the lane and follow the instructions. Ye sab hota hai station par. So I do voiceovers for people. I make sure that they get their audio production work done. There are a lot of dubbings happening, recordings, small seminars, conferences. It's a rental space and it's a creative space for individuals.
So we are on the same lines. We have a co-working space where we provide spaces in the right way to a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And you are in more of a niche for content creators to provide a rental studio. I hope to visit that.
You should.
Imagine some things. We'll put up right there in the video as well for the people to imagine that.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much, Sophie, for coming here, giving out time.
Pleasure.
It all started with the Gulf News event being moderated.
Yes, but I would like to mention one thing, that this person who's sitting right here was the star of the show. Because, honestly speaking, as the moderator, I was asking questions to almost everybody on the panel. But this guy sitting here, okay, he had the answer to all the questions. So 100%, full marks to you. And that's what I loved about, your passion and the way you were expressing yourself. I think with passion comes great results.
Learning from the great women out there.
Yeah.
From my wife as well. She's the CEO of Danga.
Yes.
And as I say, I'm a big, big believer of women leadership.
Yes.
And I myself believe that I can do wonders when I have women leadership.
Absolutely. And I would like to give credit to your wife here also, because I was following her on certain social media platforms. And I think that we need such women in the society who are the epitome of success, who are wonderful, wonderful role models for children, for young girls, for women, for men, because they get that kind of vibes that, she can do it, we can do it. And together we can create a better future.
And society is better when women are.
Yes, correct.
Thank you so much, Sophie.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be on your show. And inshallah, आप लाहौर चक्कर लगाएं, आपको हम अपने ज़बरदस्त खाने ज़रूर खिलाएंगे.
बिल्कुल.
Thank you.